this. We're a little bit behind, but that's okay. We got a lot of questions.
Okay, so there are handouts being passed around. There are 2 sheets, so make sure you get 2 pages. So, thank you to Jessica for giving me time to present to you all on this very innovative tool. This is a cooperative effort spearheaded by the Governor's Policy Office. It is a result of the Governor's energy strategy, and it was originally called the Energy Atlas, and the idea is to provide an online GIS decision support system tool to provide pre-planning assessment information and data to help people who are out trying to develop projects on the ground to get a feel for what resources overlap with their project area before they get too deep into it, so that they just have an idea of what permitting requirements they will be facing to get their application done. And so we have been progressing with this tool for 2 years now, and as Jessica said, it's going to be released at the end of this month for the public, which is very exciting. And so we've had 3 committees, 3 subgroups helping with the development. We have the steering committee, which is comprised of the Governor's Policy Office, Game and Fish, DEQ, and SHPO, and ETS. And the developer that we have been using is WYGISC, which is the Wyoming Geographic Information Science Center. For those of you who don't know, they're the GIS shop over at UW. And they have been doing the project management and all the development end of things. So we also have our data partners group, and they are the ones that we've been working with to make sure that we have access to the right best data. And then we have had an end users group, and they are the they've been a small group of people from industry and the private sector and a few local municipal governments who have been providing feedback throughout the development process on just feedback to make it a better, more useful tool. So this whole platform is built on a project that we completed 2 years ago called the GeoHub, and the GeoHub is the Wyoming Geospatial Hub, which is the clearinghouse for GIS data. And that was created to fulfill Wyoming Statute 9-1-224, which instructed the governor, it allowed the governor to collect scientific data, defensible scientific data, on natural resource information, and then it required him to create a repository to make that data accessible. And so the GeoHub is that repository for publicly accessible data, and it's obviously mostly GIS data. And so what technology allows us to do now is to, the old GeoHub, or the old clearinghouse for GIS data, was built on people sending data, and then that data would sit there and get staler day after day because, how many of us, when we're updating GIS data, think, oh, I need to send my new data to WYGISC for them to have it available? It just doesn't happen that way. So the way it works now is people can publish their own map services, which is a live reflection of their data. And so people, if they have the URL to access that data, they can pull that data into their own GIS system, and it's the best, latest, greatest data that that agency has available. And so that's what WYGISC has done with the GeoHub, is have, we've worked with lots of different data partners to make sure that we have map services for their data. And if they don't have the IT infrastructure to provide it themselves, then WYGISC is hosting those map services for them. So it's really a pretty revolutionary step for Wyoming, and I can tell you from my experience with other states that we are ahead of a lot of other states as far as having this complex GeoHub available for GIS data for not only people in our state but across the country and the world. So given the GeoHub, what we have is the NREX, the Natural Resources and Energy Explorer tool. And again, as we were developing it, we recognized that it could be applicable to things greater than just energy, and so that's why we expanded the name to indicate that if you're a county planner and you're looking at an annexation or building a new wastewater pond, that this can help you. So it's not just for energy development. And so, of course, you have to disclaim the heck out of anything so that nobody holds anything against us. So the way, we had a meeting a few years ago in Casper and got some initial feedback from GIS users across the state. And one of the key points of feedback that we heard from industry was concerns from them as far as they didn't want to have any of their confidential project information hosted on WGIS servers. And so in response to that, the way that this is programmed is everything that anyone does is solely on their desktop. So any of the project information that I digitize is, stored in, I won't bore you with geek talk, but it's stored in a file only on my desktop. And I choose when I share it with other people. And so, my project is only for my eyes until I'm ready to share it with other people. And that's a pretty big deal, because we want this to be a highly useful tool for, especially industry, but for anyone else. So given that, when I start up the tool, I can either start with something new if I want to locate to my own project area, or if I have previous work that either I've done or that a colleague has sent me, I can upload that file and zoom to that existing location. And so I do have some project files, but I'm going to show you how you actually start off and give you some orientation to the application. So as you can see, it defaults to Wyoming, and we have some tabs across the top, and each tab has its corresponding ribbon, and so I can expand and contract that ribbon to make those go away or come back. And before I go on, we developed this tool with the intended audience of not necessarily GIS professionals, but not necessarily agency directors. People who are somewhat proficient with GIS, somewhat proficient with technology, who can navigate through maps and data. But we really tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. And so it's somewhat intuitive, but you still need a little jump start to actually start using the tool. So I can locate my project location either by township range section, or if I have a latitude longitude, I can enter that and it'll zoom me to that location, or I can simply bring up the map navigation tools that those of us who use GIS are familiar with, and I can just zoom into an area and start banging around and see what's going on. So, sorry, it's really hard to see from here. Again, those of you who are familiar with GIS, you can create bookmarks. So if you're, for those of us in Cheyenne, we typically are, based out of Cheyenne, but we deal with places all over the state. You can have like a county project index or, district office, so you can divide your projects into your own logical groupings to make it easier to navigate through your projects. So I'm going to just go through all the tabs and then go through how you actually would analyze a project. On the Data tab, so this is, again, what's tapping into the exhaustive list of data that's available through the GeoHub. And so down here I have 3 sub-tabs. The All Data tab is where you go to wade through the data to find what you want. And we try to, group them logically in folders so that, and it's just, expandable, and you can look through and it is amazing to me the amount of data that we have available in this tool. And as a GIS professional, it's handy for me to know that I could go here and just pull in all this data instead of having to download it or access it some other way and bring it into my own ArcMap document. So it is extremely beneficial for anyone who's interested in looking at geospatial data. And knowing that this is a very large, intimidating list, we have a search option. So if I just want, I'm intimately familiar with all the data that's here and where it is, but if you want to find where wind data is, it will tell me, it will return all the folders where anything related to wind is. So we have wind turbines, wind power potential, so that's a pretty handy tool. And with all these, when I bring the tool in from this ribbon up here, I can click the box and make it go away. And if you'll notice, when I bring a tool in, it changes colors up top, and then when I make it go away, it again changes. So I have that visual indication of what I have available, what is not there. So then, of course, the legend is boring right now, but it tells me, indicates what's what. And then, so as I build data, say I want to look at trails or national landmarks. So once I click on a layer, again, one of the points we got from our feedback was people want to, have a quick indication of whom the authoritative source is for that data, and a quick little snapshot of a description of that data. So when you click on any layer, it tells you who the data provider is, in this case the Park Service, when that data is current as of, and then if I want to delve into the metadata, I have a link to get into that. And again, here I can change the transparency of the data, so I can change the symbology, make it easier to look at. And so if I click Add Data, then over on the Mapped Data tab, that's where I'm kind of building my own data list. So that's where because we recognize that people couldn't and wouldn't want to wade through all the data all the time. So you get to build your own data list that you are looking at and that you can analyze if you want to go that route. So again, this is all the data in this tab is stuff that we have accessible through the GeoHub. Recognizing that there are other data that people may have or want access to, you can either upload your own zipped shapefile, say you've got some more recent monitoring data that you want to use, you can add that. Or if you have a map service from a different data provider, you can just type in that URL and it can bring that in for you. Under Map Tools, as you create your project, you have all the typical graphic editing tools to mock up your map, to describe project features, and again, you can save that layout, print it out, save it as a PDF to send to collaborators to help them understand your project area. We have some really handy measure and calculate tools where you can extract the lat long or UTM locations of a spot that you click on. You can also have it calculate the length in all different units, or you select the units for a line feature that you draw, and you can also have it calculate the area in a variety of different units for any area that you would draw. So again, some very handy basic GIS tools that, just to try to make it super easy for people to use. And then the last one on this map is to query other applications. And so especially with federal data, they don't want their data accessible. They want to control where you access that data from. And so how we have this programmed is you can select which application. So in this case, we have the EPA, we have BLM, and then we have the new Wyoming Water Research the words tool.
Water Atlas.
Climate Atlas.
Thank you. And so I'll demonstrate that because I think this is just really slick. So again, if I'm going to zoom into a specific location, again, to make it very user-friendly, so I click on the data that I want to look into, and I click on my spot on the map, and what it does is open up a new tab for me, so I don't lose where I am. It opens a new tab, and should zoom me to that very same location that I was in NREX, so that again, it just alleviates that additional navigation function, and it takes me right to where I was, so that I can go right into that additional data. And it must be thinking hard about that. So I'll demonstrate it with EPA data. So again, if I want to see what data EPA has around Atlantic City, it will zoom me to that location. The joy of live demos. So here we are. So here I can, get to work on whatever EPA data I may want for this same location. So that's pretty slick, pretty user-friendly. And then the last tab to go through is the Analysis tab, and this will make more sense once I pull up the project and go through that. But what this does is it enables you to analyze the data that you have pulled into your mapped data list. And so, if I'm, in Canna, and Shell, and I want to, have a quick view of what resources may impact my permitting, I can have my project area, I can have crucial deer winter range, sage grouse, raptors, cultural, SHPO inventory, trails, so on and so on, and I can set analysis buffers. So for each data layer, I can set a different buffer distance, and then it will return. Okay, so for this, you've got these resources that overlap in that buffer distance. For trails, you've got this. For raptor nests, you've got this. And so it just gives people that early heads up to know, okay, I will need to contact Fish and Wildlife Service. I will need to contact Army Corps of Engineers, so to help them with their permitting process. And then you can export the results to use it in your own report and analysis or share with your collaborators. You can save and download a map to print out, to put in your report, and go on to the next thing. So then I lied. The last thing is this tab over here where I can load and save my work. So I can, again, load files that people have sent me, or I can save any of the work that I'm doing so that I don't have to recreate it the next time I come in, or again, if I want to share it with other people. So I'm going to choose a project file that, sorry, that was really hard to see. Where's my downloads? Right here. Cancel. Okay, bear with me.
So are you uploading a shapefile right now?
No. So the project file is saved in what's called a JSON, and so it's a very simple file. It doesn't take up much space at all. It just has that geographic location, and then it's telling the application these are the data layers that are contained in this project, and so refer to those map services to pull them up.
Do you have the option to upload a shapefile if you want to?
Yes. Sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing where downloads. Why can't I find that here? You see downloads? Okay. Bear with me. I'm just going to copy these and paste them on the desktop. Okay, so I think probably everyone in this room has heard of the Moose Wilson Road, just a low-key topic. So this is a hypothetical project of it's not a hypothetical project, but this is a bike path that, was one of the options analyzed. And so what we have is, again, it automatically zooms me to that location with the project that was digitized, and it already has some data that a colleague selected to be analyzed. One of the things I forgot to mention is what's pretty exciting about the data we have is we worked with ANI to get socioeconomic data, and so for the first time in Wyoming you have access to socioeconomic data through GIS. So we have, we asked them, what are the top 10 data requests that you have? And so we have, and then they've added tons since then. We have all the census information, and then we have economic and demographic data by county. So you can take a snapshot, look at what it would be my workforce. What are the housing units? What are the unemployment rates? What is the average income in that county? And so, again, to help economic development, it really is beneficial to have access to those data for a specific project location. So, and then another data layer that's really, the industry is very happy to have access to is SHPO data. And so again, knowing that that's very proprietary, what we did with SHPO is generalize it to a section level. So what we have is a return of how many cultural resource inventories have been done in that section, and of those, how many have recorded eligible or ineligible sites, and then where those inventory areas are. So this is showing where cultural resource inventories have happened, and I can click on that, and it will, there's a lot of data there. It would tell me which company did the inventory, and again, how many sites they recorded. So I'm not getting any information that I shouldn't have, but again, just valuable information for people to see, to know how complicated that project may become. So now I'm going to go to a different project that I created, and isn't that really pretty? So this is kind of a hypothetical NPL well, just south of the Jonah. And so let me turn some of these things off. So I purposely put it inside a sage-grouse core area, which is that blue line. And I have oil and gas wells in there. I have those cultural resource inventories. I have Park Service landmarks. I have surface ownership and a few, interesting data layers. So if I come to analysis, what I can do, I expand the set buffers, and I can change the buffer, and I can select which ones I want to analyze or not. So I may want to analyze the surface ownership, but I don't need to go out that far. If I do 5 miles, that's going to take a little longer, but I also don't need to know what's happening within 5 miles. But for sage grouse, you would definitely want 4 miles to know what's within your 4 miles. So I can change all those buffers and then say run analysis. And so I've got, I don't know, maybe 10 data layers in here, and boom, it's done. Okay, 5. And so I can expand. So that's showing my quarter-mile buffer that I analyzed, and then I can have it show me the results of all those previous inventories that overlap with that buffer. And I can, of course, click on any of them to identify what it is and find out more. And again, I can export those results in either a CSV or a text document or HTML5, and I can download the map to print out and share with other people. So, pretty handy tool for people who, consultants who help companies with their environmental analyses, or, project proponents who are looking at doing things. So some of the feedback that we've gotten from our end user group is that a pipeline company in Pinedale said they see using this to be able to communicate their project location information with permitting agencies. So I think all of us need to be aware that people will be using this to send their project location information to us as the permittors, and so a basic proficiency with how to deal with that data when they send it to you is going to be necessary for us to be able to communicate with them using this tool. And so, again, this will be released to the public at the end of this month, and we are currently talking about where it goes from here as far as continued outreach with state organizations and agencies, and continue to get access to more and better data. And we've talked about doing it more of an executive dashboard function, so that county commissioners or agency directors can have a very high level view of what's going on and what resources are impacted, and we'll wait and see how it goes from there. So,
questions?
Yeah.
Soils?
So we have data from NRCS, and I think, I'm not sure if what we have is a totally user-friendly version, but they know that they need to get us a user-friendly version. So that would be under environmental. Let's use the search data sets. There we go. So we have Surgo and StatsGo for where that's available.
Does it give you the ability to download the data, or does it just redirect you?
Good question. We purposely didn't program that into this because that's what the GeoHub is for. So we do not have a clip and zip function through NREX, but you do get to download the results of that overlap analysis of the analysis itself. But yeah, the idea being you go to the GeoHub to actually get the data to pull it in and do your own analysis on. Any other questions?
Your imagery.
Oh, good question. So over here on map data, I can choose what type of background I want. So I can have imagery, and this is basic Esri map service, or imagery service. I'm not sure how recent it is, but if we turn, it's not bad.
It doesn't go clear down to like area photography and stuff.
No, but if you had we have our new, oh help me, what is it? Our new 1 meter and half meter imagery.
Lighter.
LiDAR. No, not LiDAR. More coffee. That will, when that's available in map services, we will definitely have that available. So you could have that as a backdrop. Yeah. And then of course, yeah. So I mean, it's just, again, as a GIS professional, this is just, this is huge. I mean, it's and White just deserves a lot of credit for what they did with the budget that they had and just the quality of the tool that they produced for, for our taxpayer dollars. So they deserve a lot of credit for, what they have developed for this.
And they really did a lot of outreach. They organized a lot of outreach to make sure it was user-friendly. They included all the agencies, but all the industries and the industry consultants. I mean, they really did a good job to make sure that we didn't produce something that would go thump. People are pretty excited about this. And I think it's all upon all of us around the room to continue to keep our data good, quality, and I don't know the right word, but high quality.
And to me, my philosophy has always been you never know how good your data is until people start to use it. And so, people are going to start using data because of this tool. And so, no data is ever perfect, and it's, I mean, some agencies say, oh, our data isn't ready, our data isn't ready. It's never, it's never ready, but you just, it's your public agency, so you should make it available to the public because that's what we should do. And so, when people find errors, then that just tells you where you need to devote your efforts to improve it. So, but yeah, it has brought to light, some deficiencies for sure.
So how
Hey everybody, this is Milward. I don't know if you can hear me. I wanted just to make sure everybody was aware that Jeff Hammerlink and Teal Wyckoff made a presentation to the Governor's Energy and Natural Resources Policy team on this in late October, and there are some fairly serious concerns that were brought up mainly by the state geologists that have yet to be vetted by the Governor's office, and so I'm going to be following up with DeFi and him to look at that. It doesn't have to do necessarily with the tool itself, which is wonderful and powerful. It has to do with the nature of the data itself, and mostly the public-facing side of this, and the kind of impressions that the data can give the layman, and how to make sure that it doesn't cause more problems than it solves. And I won't talk on behalf of Tom Green because he's much more articulate on this, but there's pretty serious concerns that were raised. Hopefully that can be addressed before this goes to the public in late January. And I'll be talking to DeFi and some others with Tom about it.
Thanks, Millward.
You have a parcel for your layer?
We expect to have the parcel data in here, yes. So we did a demo to the Assessors Association, and like their first question was, are you going to have the parcel data in there? So they pretty much offered it up, which was pretty amazing. So, yeah.
So how would you download the data? You said go through the GeoHub or something? Is there a link to that through this?
No, I don't know that there is or not, but we can certainly go there. That I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Geospatial.org, geospatialhub.org. So this is the Geospatial Hub, and this is a combination of 3 loosely grouped applications The GeoHub imagery is where you can search through all the imagery that YGISC has available. GeoHub Pathfinder is a metadata search tool. Oh no, Explorer, yeah. So this is where,
So that's just YGIS.
it is
Set or something.
YGISC, but YGISC developed it. But again, it is the official clearinghouse for geospatial data for the state. So it has, so again, if I wanted to search, give me a data layer. And so we have DEQ data, you know, Chad being one of our, on our steering committee, you know, we have his, I think he has his 43 map services available through this. So you could search for DEQ data. Okay, maybe not. Yeah. I'm checking out. NREX. Go back to here. Go here.
So I guess I'm just wondering how easy is it to, if you're dealing with, you know, your NREX tool, to say, hey, I'd really like to have, you know, whatever shapefile I've been using. How easy is it to find that shapefile?
That's a good
Is
question.
there a link or something to?
So again, from the data tab, on any data layer that I bring in, that I want, when I click on it, so there's lakes, and that's DEQ. So on that metadata tab, I can find how to access it. That's part of what metadata is about, is to let people know how to access the information. And then there's also, we also provide that link to the data provider, their website. So, you know, I mean, it does take a little bit of, you know, additional navigation, but we didn't want to duplicate functionality in this tool that's available through the GeoHub. So. Anybody else?
And there's a group of state DEQ, SHPO, Office of State Lands, are they involved?
No.
But that have met every 2 weeks to talk through this. So it's been a hard slog, and these people really deserve a lot of credit to get where we are.
Is that YouTube tutorial going to be the public release date, or is it going to be for us?
So we're looking at having, I mean, there are going to be instructional materials available. If we go back to the home page.
The screen isn't.
There's going to be, I think, some help documents here, and we're looking at developing kind of a rollout video to just kind of give people that initial navigation. You know, this is how you kind of walk through the process. And then if you look at what they did is, with a lot of these, they're kind of tutorial help built in. So on every little tool, there's a little question mark, and so I can click on that question mark, and it has kind of built-in tips and user tips in there. So, yeah, and you can always call me.
That's good. I think the video is good because I'm just envisioning sharing this, but then trying to explain it. And then
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's part of having the maintenance funds to be able to continue to do outreach and education and provide user help, because that's pretty critical. So.
Any other questions? Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks.
All right. If there's nothing else, I think we're done.
Good.
Yeah, this was great, actually. Great breakfast, good presentation, good updates.